You knew I was going to play that song, right? You had to have known I was going to play that.
It's a classic.
It is a classic. Okay, you're listening to Flight 1080 here on AM 1080 KSCO Santa Cruz. It is 5 o'clock, and we have joining us a special guest. Now, guest, I should say. Greg, I'm going to try to say this. And, it is one of those names, the more I stare at it, the more hung up I get on it. Braithwaite. Okay. Greg Braithwaite. Now, you are here to tell us about Ride of Silence. I don't know if you have an official title or not, but you are now the Sheriff of Nottingham, if you don't have a title. But if you do, what is it?
In regards to the Ride of Silence?
Right, in regards to, are you an organizer?
I call myself the Ride Ambassador or organizer. It's a global,
I like that.
It's a global event, and really anyone could put one on anywhere. Mm-hmm. And a few years ago, I noticed that there wasn't an event in Santa Cruz, and unfortunately, back in 2013, I lost a friend. Was killed by a car while cycling, and the Ride of Silence is an event that is in memoriam for riders injured or killed while out riding their bikes.
Dude, boy, you know what? I don't know. Man, Greg, we all do things that we regret, right, in life. And I would never forget, dude. I thought it was going to be super funny driving it fast and just buzzing by a bicyclist. And that guy was furious. Man, he was screaming mad at me. He was cussing. I'm sure I couldn't hear him because I drove too fast. But I've always felt like the world's biggest for doing that, dude. And I can't believe it. And maybe that's because there was a period of time I didn't have a driver's license. So riding a bicycle was my main transportation. And boy, you ride a bike and you learn respect as a driver. When you're in a car, you learn to, keep your head on a swivel and look for those guys. But people who don't ride bikes oftentimes don't keep an eye out for bicyclists.
I mean, one thing we could all relate to, whether we're riding bikes or drivers of cars, and most people that are riding bikes also are sometimes car drivers too.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
But one thing, for sure is we all can relate to being frustrated out on the road, mm-hmm. and hopefully we have thought of it's important to rein that in because consequences can be deadly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you're here to tell us about the Ride of Silence. Now, this is a memorial bike ride or a bike ride in memoriam?
Yeah.
Of people who, in Santa Cruz County, what do the roads look like? Because I know there's certain organizations that give cities and counties ratings based on their infrastructure for bicycling or hiking or whatever. But in this case, how does Santa Cruz County, Santa Cruz rank in?
Well, Dave, first let me say I purposely tried to come as completely unprepared as possible to speak about my passion and
mm-hmm.
for cycling. But I do know, based on some recent data, that Santa Cruz has not always had the best track record in terms of safe streets, and there's a lot of work in progress to make these streets safer. I think sometimes we. When we are out on the roadways, we see some of those attempted improvements. Mm-hmm. But as of some data I've seen from 2018, 2019, we're not necessarily knocking it out of the park in terms of safety. We have room for improvement.
I know that's certainly the case in Watsonville, where I'm from. Oh man, it is bad out there, dude. It's dangerous.
Yeah, I have to concur with that. Yeah. If you think the city, Santa Cruz City, is not making progress, there's some parts of Watsonville that really could use improvement. That said, if you've been riding out there, you'll probably have seen a lot of improvements, because I would say in the last kind of year or so, especially around the city area, there's been some improvements, mm-hmm. and they have the new the section of the rail trail has opened up through there as well.
Yeah, dude, I think we'll talk a little bit about that. Back to the Ride of Silence. So I know that there's a website set up, yes?
Yeah, there's a website, because the Ride of Silence is actually a global event that happens in May is Bike Month, and it happens on this same Wednesday each year. And so our Ride of Silence, the Santa Cruz Ride of Silence, is May 18th.
Okay.
That's next week.
Oh.
And again, like I said, it's also Bike Month here in Santa Cruz. You could find the event on Ecology Action's Bike Month website and calendar. There's a Facebook invite out there, and there's the actual Ride of Silence website, which you could check out and also maybe find a ride in your area if you happen to be listening and not in the Santa Cruz area.
So in the Santa Cruz area, can you give us a roughly what we can expect on this day, on Wednesday the 17th?
Absolutely. So we're meeting at the clock tower, the town clock, downtown Santa Cruz, and we're gathering at 6:30 p.m., hoping to depart at 6:30. And usually we have a small but dedicated crowd of people. We'll take a leisurely cruise out to the west side and see some of the beauty of Westcliff. Probably ride past the boardwalk, which actually has one of the strangely one of the area's best separated bike lanes, passing the boardwalk, because it's actually separated by a small curb or hump. We'll pass through the boardwalk, drop maybe into the harbor a little bit, circle around maybe around a gulch, and come back downtown. So it's going to be a 7-mile bike ride. We'll be rolling nice and slow, and if 7 miles is too much and you want to do 2 or 3, I'm sure there's plenty of spots to turn around and do your own thing.
It sounds like for the most part that it's going to be on pretty flat land.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's going to be, sounds like it's going to be fun. Now, I would think that there's more safety in numbers, right? So it's not very likely that a car is not going to see this big group of bicycles. And it seems like it'd be a good, safe way to go out for that, enjoy that ride.
Like I said, often our numbers are small, and that's one of the reasons why I'm here today, to spread the word. And if you've run across some of our town's other kind of great bike events, like the Santa Cruz bike party that's hosted once a month, and maybe seen the things where there's some stereos blasting and glow sticks and whatnot, it's a little bit of a different vibe in the Ride of Silence, and it's called the Ride of Silence because participants are encouraged to remain quiet, and as they are honoring friends, loved ones that have been injured or killed, of course, that is the suggestion if you want to talk, but that's the premise behind it. Right. So it's a little bit of a different event than
so it's not a rolling disco. That's not the point of the Ride of Silence.
I mean, those are great events.
They are. They're fun.
Nothing wrong with the rolling disco.
We both I like riding bikes. Right? Nice. I like riding bikes. I don't know that I would call myself a bike rider or a bicyclist. What is a bicyclist?
Yeah, I mean, that's a real important point, because people ride bikes for so many different reasons. You sometimes on the weekends, of course, you see the folks clad in Lycra, and maybe they're out for a 50 or 80 or 100-mile bike ride in the mountains. But so many people are just using their bikes for transportation, to drop their kids off at school, to go to the grocery store, to get to work. So not everyone that is on a bike is out training for the Tour de France, or into competitive cycling, or for example, I could talk about every single part in detail on my bike and why I chose it and what I want to improve, but that's not how all cyclists are. There's a wide variety of reasons why people use bikes.
Bicycling your main source of transportation?
I try very hard to make it so. I do like a lot of us Santa Cruzans have to go over the hill for work. I utilize our public transportation and the Highway 17 Express, which is a real joy, ladies and gentlemen.
Because there's no way you could ride from here to San Jose. That's just impossible.
I did do that this morning. It's getting beautiful.
Wait a minute. You did it this morning and you're still alive? You're still walking around? I can't believe it, dude. If I did that, I would be in the hospital, most likely.
I'm dedicated to my appearance here on Flight 1080. I've been excited about it. It gave me lots of energy. So again, maybe that's not something everyone is doing, but it is. There's a couple very nice options for riding that route.
So I'm assuming that you didn't ride 17.
No.
I have seen somebody riding 17.
I've only heard rumors.
I thought, oh my God, you're a maniac.
It sounds insane.
Yeah, I can't believe it. I mean, you can go fast down hills. What do you think is the top speed on your bicycling when you're going downhill?
That's a good question. I would assume 40s or, yeah.
Do you tuck in and get low so that you can go faster, or do you just?
I've been known to tuck in and get low occasionally. Yes.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. There's oftentimes, in choosing routes, for example, in a heavily trafficked route, let's just say SoCal San Jose Road. That's a road that, if you're descending that, one might say you're actually safer at a faster speed because cars are not blowing by you at a much higher speed. I mean, that is not a highway. It's actually a regular road. I know that cyclists can be frustrating to drivers on that particular road, but it is just a regular old road. It's not a highway or freeway.
Believe me, dude, it's better just to get mad and go, hey, you stupid bicyclist, and just pass them safely because you don't want to do anything dangerous. It's not worth it, man.
And safe passing is
safe passing. There you go.
Is something I think that I would say drivers need to keep in mind. Number one tip for driving in mountain roads would be not getting too excited to pass a cyclist safely, and then basically passing unsafely and having a potential collision with an oncoming car.
Right.
I see that every time I'm out riding.
If you could say, because I want to get to some phone calls here. And,
for sure.
But before we do, one thing that you could say to car drivers, if there's one thing, as you're riding out there has to be a thought that you have consistently and say, damn it, if they only knew this, or if I could only tell them that, or if I could only make them understand what. Yeah.
And I can't remember if I said this already, but keep in mind, again, cyclists are also drivers. I am also drive an automobile, so it's not really an us or them, but obviously be mindful, but use the methods of communication that are available to you in the car, such as turn signals, and try to communicate the best you can. Often you see cyclists trying to use communication, hand signals and things like that is good cycling. And for me as a cyclist, I am constantly looking for communication from cars. I'm looking for some predictability, what is happening. And I'm also wanting cars to follow the rules of the road. Don't try to do your own thing to make a special exception for a bike. Just follow the rules of the road, because that's, as a cyclist, that's what we're expecting you to do.
And when they don't, it kind of throws you off and make you hesitate. And if there's the hesitation, man, is not
right, and then it could kick off a series of events that could be dangerous.
Bad things could happen. 479-1080. We are hanging out with Greg Braithwaite.
Correct.
Got it. Yes. Got it. I want to talk with you about bikes. And again, we're going to talk about Ride of Silence, rideofsilence.org. If you want to check that out now, and you can, browse around while you're listening to the show, rideofsilence.org. And the event will be taking place next Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday the 18th, 6:30 at the Clock Tower.
Okay, sounds good, Greg. Let's see I didn't get a name, but our first caller is from SoCal. You're in the air, sir. Thank you for the call.
Hi, Dave. Lowell Webb.
Lowell, what's going on, Lowell?
Well, I have been a cyclist. I probably will be in the future. I have a couple bones to pick about it, however, from a safety standpoint.
Okay.
I see way too many people in dark clothing and going on something like the old San Jose Road. When you go into the shade out of the sun, you're almost not visible. You need to be wearing either fluorescent or reflective. You need to be bright and easily seen. It's extremely important.
You know what, Lowell? That is an excellent point. So thank you for your call. Greg, I'm sitting here and I'm ready to just lash out at drivers and say, hey, you turkeys, use your turn signals, don't honk, don't get too close. But there are also some rules that bicyclists should follow, because that's a great point. When you're going into or out of a shadow, it's hard to see these guys. And if they're wearing dark clothes, oh, my God, dude, just not smart.
Yeah, it really is. And my wife doesn't let me leave the house if my cycling outfit is too dark. I just kind of waved my helmet here to Dave in the studio, which happens to be fluorescent green. And, there's riders are under no obligation to wear bright clothes. Not wearing bright clothes is no excuse or reason for why it would be okay for a cyclist getting injured. That said, there's also the idea, would you rather be right, or would you rather be So I could definitely relate to that. And of course, there nowadays are some really incredible, very bright, long-lasting lights that you could put on your bike as well.
What I don't know if you might be too professional to use these things, but on the bike spokes, they have these nice little reflective, like little mini straws, and man, they light up so bright, which is nice from the side. From the profile view, there's not a lot of reflective areas from the side.
No, and
these things work really nice.
Yeah, because you're absolutely right. A lot of lights are directed in the front and rear.
Yeah, in the front and rear. I want to get to another phone call. How much money do you think I should spend to buy a bicycle? The bike I ride, now this is how you can tell I'm not a bicyclist. I ride bikes. Mm-hmm. My bike I have two of them. One is an old school Schwinn. The other, and that thing looks like the Pee Wee Herman bike, dude. I love that bike. It's so heavy, it just smashes over everything, just nice, smooth ride. But the one I'd like to ride out in the mountains is a Cannondale. It's probably mid-90s. I love to ride that thing, dude, but I think the frame is too small because it kind of bucks over too easily. So I think I need a bigger bike, and I'm wondering how much money do I have to pay? Am I buying a piece of junk if it doesn't have shocks? Everything has shocks nowadays.
Yeah, bikes often for off-road do have shocks. Some of them do, some of them don't. Mm-hmm. That's a really individual question. Part of me has to really kind of check, I want to kind of say check my privilege to a certain extent, because mm-hmm. I happen to be very into bikes. Mm-hmm. So my general guidance to people is you don't want to buy something that is a toy, something that is going to just be junk. But I think you could get a lot of really neat things to ride, definitely well under $1,000.
Really?
For sure. Nice. Yeah.
Because I was expecting, maybe a hardtail, which is no shocks in the back. Probably $1,200 is
right. Side business. If you want to call up, and Dave could pass on my info. One of my favorite things to do is work with people and talk to them and find out what are their needs and what kind of are some bike options. Of course, every single person at one of our great local bike shops is ready to do that as well.
We'll talk about that too. Let's pick up a call from Livermore. Barry is going to take us out to the news. So we got about 4, maybe 5 minutes. Barry, take it away.
Oh, well, I was just wondering if on this ride around Santa Cruz they're going to be single file.
No.
Likely single file. The route we're taking does take us on some bike paths, which is nice. And on there we'll probably spread out and enjoy. But when riding on city streets without bike lanes, I think it's always a good idea to not. You don't want to hog the road. That's something that does sometimes upset drivers.
Yes. Okay, well, that'll satisfy me.
All right, Barry. Thank you for the call. 479-1080. Rideofsilence.org is the website. Be sure to check that out. Go ahead and check that out now. Keep it tuned in, though. Don't go anywhere, because we've got headlines as well as more bicycle information. Greg Braithwaite hanging out with us and you, 479-1080.
Give me a choice. I said, Christ, I don't believe in Peter Pan, Frankenstein, or Superman.
You're listening to AM 1080 KSEO Santa Cruz. We are hanging out with Greg Braithwaite, and we are talking about the Ride of Silence. Rideofsilence.org is the website. Be sure to check that out. I have a text message here, Greg, and this one says, I agree with Dave. If you're not a biker, you're not as cautious driving around bikers. Am I a biker or am I a bicyclist? Are you a biker or a bicyclist?
I don't think we need to...
Well, we had something to fight
about. We can do whatever we want, right. But I try not to get too caught up in those labels, man. You know, like I said, the fact of the matter is we're riding bikes for a lot of different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why just talking about the ride of silence and you know, I usually say the second best thing to go into the ride of silence is to know that the ride of silence is happening, because even that can maybe raise some awareness. And sure, yeah, maybe after, you know, spending some time riding your bike around the streets, I would think that does make you a little bit maybe more of a sharper driver. I could see that point.
Makes you more considerate. And I think a lot of drivers who are what we would call bad drivers, you know, bicyclists would call bad drivers, I don't know that they're just big jerks as much as they just don't consider what it's like to ride a bike. I mean, it's beyond they just never thought of it.
I think that what any one of us can do is we could just take the 10 worst things we've ever seen bicyclists do,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then, you know, obviously those are dangerous things, and then we could generalize that that's kind of how all cyclists are. So I think that there's a lot of drivers out there that are probably frustrated by bicyclists with, you know, some good reason. They've had some bad experience with, you know, someone, you know, chose to just call us up moments ago just to ask about riding single file. My guess is that gentleman has had some bad experience with cyclists not doing that. So I get it, you know,
right.
But ultimately we all need to be safe in our community together.
So I asked you if there was one thing you could tell people, you know, vehicle drivers, that one thing that you would really want them to understand, to really grasp, and you said that is to use better communication.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if this is too much or not, but me, you know, walking and riding around a lot, I think eye contact is so critical. And when they wear sunglasses, it drives me crazy because I want to see their eyes. There's there's a lot of communication that goes on with the eyes, and that kind of bugs me. But be that what it may. So that's what you would want drivers to do.
Well, I mean, and just on that point, because it is a really good point, I may be wearing sunglasses, but as a bicyclist, I might be looking at your eyes. And let's face it, if one person needs to be clear in that relationship in a more important way, it's probably the bicyclist.
Absolutely.
So you know, it's ultimately who has done what. The fact of the matter is the car is a more dangerous situation.
Absolutely, yeah.
But that is a good point about eye contact.
So if there was one thing that you wished other bicyclists would not do, now we're talking about the bicyclist, the bad behavior number one, something you wish maybe they're like me and they're new to riding bikes, and you want them to not learn the hard way. What would you tell them?
Yeah, I mean, I want to say something kind of like philosophical, like remember to be a good ambassador, you know, for people on bikes, and remember that people are going to take your actions and fit them into their stereotypes, you know, possibly negative, you know, but in terms of just more practical things, very similar. Don't blatantly run stoplights. Don't blatantly run stop signs. You know, yeah, I mean, I don't want to open up a can of worms, but are there times when maybe it's a little bit safer and, you know, quote unquote, okay for cyclists to bend some rules in different ways than cars bend rules, because cars bend rules too. Sure. But, you know, signaling, again, not flying through intersections and expecting others to be responding to you. Again, we should be working as a team out there.
Yeah. Today I saw somebody who blew through an intersection. And, you know, there are states who are changing laws so that bicyclists can bend rules, like to make a rolling stop to a stop sign.
That's
so
right.
It's happening. But this guy blew right through an intersection, and I saw him coming. He saw me. I was not wearing sunglasses. We both made eye contact, and I knew that he was going to cut right in front of me. I slowed down. You know, he shouldn't have done that, yes, but I also, as a driver, I consider myself a pretty good driver. I saw what was going on and made it safe for him.
Right.
He shouldn't have done it, and it is. Yeah, but
then the only thing that would make that situation worse would be then the rider gets, you know, self-righteous about it and then gives you a hard time after blowing through that intersection. So things like that, you know, definitely can give riders a bad rap.
Right. 4791080. Man, I have so many questions to ask you, Greg. I got so many. I'm assuming that you're a street bicyclist. You ride on the streets?
I'm a cycling nut, basically. So, yeah, I do street cycling, some commuting, like we mentioned, to work.
Mm-hmm.
I also do some road touring, where you put your bags on the bike and you go camping for,
What? You do that?
I do.
Man, that's cool.
And it's a really great time. I also do off-road riding, which they call gravel riding.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of doing all the things, which I'm happy to talk about in depth.
Great, dude. I don't think we're going to have enough time today. But,
yeah, exactly. But, I don't want to give the impression that this is what, you have to be using a bike. To be using a bike more, you don't need to be doing all these things. There's a lot of other access points for biking. I saw something recently that approximately 60% of people's trips in Santa Cruz are 5 miles or less. And I think like 40% are 2 miles or less, right? So you don't need to be taking a bike tour to Big Sur or whatever to be incorporating more biking into your life on those types of trips.
That's nice, and that can save you a lot of money, which can kind of frustrate you sometimes out of a hobby, whether it's RC cars or bike riding. You go, oh, I need to buy all this. No.
Yeah, I mean, hey, everyone hates Joe Biden, right? Because he's single-handedly controlling the gas prices.
Right. $6, dude, is what? Oh my God, today, holy!
Just kidding. But yeah, you can save a lot of money.
Yeah, you can save a lot of money and get in better shape, and it's just fun. Riding bikes is fun, assuming that, it's not in a dangerous situation.
Yeah, and you need to kind of check that a little bit because sometimes you do get out there and you feel, I'm kind of assuming both Dave and I are not kids again, but sometimes you get out there and you do feel a little bit like a kid again. Those are the times in life where you got to a little bit check yourself.
You got to check yourself, dude. So, me and Mike, I got to get to these phone calls. So Mike and I, we went on this trip, and then we go, we're going to go out to the levee, and then we saw the train tracks that are abandoned. We go, we're going to go down the train tracks, and it's only another 5 miles down to the beach, and next thing you know, you are way in the heck out there. You go, man. Another time we got on the beach and rode from Watsonville out to Rio Del Mar, and we're feeling fantastic. But we could do this all day long. Well, yeah. The 30-mile ride is huge. I don't know how you can make it to San Jose and still be alive. That's amazing.
Lots of practice.
Rideofsilence.org is the website. This will be taking place next Wednesday, and this is kind of a more somber event, right? We're not looking for a disco on wheels. This is to remember
cyclists killed, specifically by drivers. And so, yeah, an important but somber event.
I guess all of those deaths are avoidable. Probably, I'm sure there are some accidents where it's just, but for the most part, I'm sure that a lot of these things can be avoided, whether it's better driving, better, I don't know, on somebody's side.
Yeah, that's a big question right there.
Yeah. But either in any way, the right of silence is to honor those people or, honor those people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And remember them. Wednesday, that's next Wednesday, 6:30, you guys will be meeting at the town clock.
Correct.
Okay. And rideofsilence.org is
and also
the
if the Facebook event works for people too, they could find that, the Santa Cruz Ride of Silence, if that's something they want to do. And then they could, of course, leave a message and contact me if they have a question or something. I'd be happy to get back to them.
Great. And we're hanging out with Greg Braithwaite. So if you want to contact him on Facebook, you have a Facebook page set up for this event?
I do.
Okay. At Ride of Silence, so check that out. Steve is up next. Thank you for your call, Steve. You're in the air.
Awesome. I ride a bicycle, a motorcycle, and drive a car. So I would call bicycling cyclists. Bikers are people that ride V-twins that make a lot of noise, and et cetera. Right. It keeps things simple. This is my main gripe. I actually talked to people about it a couple of years ago, Greg. I moved to Venice Beach and Marina Del Rey about 10 years ago, and I was completely impressed. At my house, Venice Beach, they managed to enforce a light law. After dusk, you had to have a light on your bicycle. And even down all that sort of anarchy attitude, people rode with bike lights on because the LA cops had a no zero tolerance for riding without them. It was first time offense was like $80. Second time was a lot more. So my gripe is people riding without lights, dangerous, unnecessary risk. And
thank you for the call, Steve. Your phone's breaking up, but I think we got a lot of there. Certainly, we got enough to work with.
Yeah, and then the neat thing about that is there are so many great organizations. Bike Santa Cruz County is one of them that regularly holds events that are purely for the purpose of supplying free bike lights to people for that exact same reason. Honestly, I don't know if we have certain regulations about that here in our state or
it would
county.
make sense
to
have
yeah,
that. I mean,
I personally don't ride at night without lights, and I wouldn't recommend that. It's, again, we're not 12 years old blasting around the neighborhood on BMX bikes here. It's a kind of would be a minimum of safety concern for riding it at night.
479-1080. Now, I'm not no spring duck. I'm not no spring duck, Rick. I remember, I'm sure you do too, the lights that had the little dynamo in the back, and you put it against your tire, and oh man, dude, technology has advanced so far. You can get these rechargeable lights. I mean, you've seen them, right?
Yeah, very, very effective. Like I said, very affordable. And some Googling of free light giveaways. Like I said, I do head over to Bike Santa Cruz County website, which also reminds me that I'm pretty confident that the Gina Cole, the director of Bike Santa Cruz County, is also hosting a Watsonville Ride of Silence. How, maybe if she is listening, maybe she will text me if they have their own Facebook page or not, because they've got a lot of, we kind of alluded to this earlier, Watsonville's got a lot of great bike community out there, and the Watsonville Cyclery, and just folks that are really turning out for the community. So I know that there is some stuff happening at that end of the county as well.
Jules, you're talking about Jules over at the...
Absolutely, great.
That guy's great.
Great guy.
He's a good guy.
You meet him once, and he's a friend for life.
Yeah. And he gets the bike thing. He gets it. You can tell, when people are into what they're doing. And it looks to me like he's got, the old saying, if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. And it looks like he's just not working. And I know he is, but it looks like he's having so much fun. Watsonville, it'd be a shame to not say this, does have a pretty good system. If you're not looking for a major workout, you just want to go for a nice leisurely ride, maybe 8 miles. There's a beautiful trail that goes from the gym all the way around and goes out to Lee Road. It's a beautiful trail. And then you ride back, goes around Ramsey Park and make a little loop out of it. Ride it 2 or 3 times. Boy, it's a beautiful, beautiful trip. And the slough is so beautiful out there in Watsonville. All the birds. It's just great, dude. Love it. Love that place. Let's see. 479-1080 is the phone number. I believe his name is Daniel. Did I get that right? You're in the air.
Yep, that's right. Hey, you guys are talking about communication and stuff out on the road. I just wanted to reiterate the actual signals that we're supposed to be given with, technically with our left hands.
Okay.
Out there, when we're bicyclists, straight out to the side is a left turn. Right angle straight up, that's a right turn. And then a right angle straight down, that means you're stopping. And I think that drivers and bicyclists kind of forgot that there's a method for us to essentially communicate out there, and that's what it is. We all took the test, and we learned, hey, those are the signals. If you have a blinker out on your car, those are the signals you're supposed to be using too. So bicyclists, cycling in the street is, you got to be a vehicle out there, and really love what these guys are doing. I think that my girlfriend and my dog are actually the on the poster for this bike month for you guys.
That's quite an honor.
Yeah, dude, she's so stoked about it. It's crazy because we've been to a couple of your events. She should be. Anyways, Go ahead.
Daniel, you're totally correct about the signaling, and also this kind of, sometimes you get this idea of like, wait, isn't this the established rule? How come people aren't doing this? Has it gone away? And it's like, no, it hasn't gone away. Just this morning, I was on Granite Creek, heading from Santa Cruz into Scotts Valley, and something dangerous we mentioned earlier that cars can do. They're trying to do the right thing and pass you safely, but they get a little too excited and they don't look ahead, and they'll pass you right in a blind corner. And on a road like Granite Creek, that could be very dangerous for everybody. And in that case, I happen to have a little better view of the road ahead and saw a car coming, coming towards us. And as I was seeing the other person try to pass me on the left, I pulled the stop sign for them, like the hand down stop sign. Yeah. Often cyclists also, though, because these hand signals were meant for when you're driving in a car, I think it's fairly well established, you will see cars or cyclists signal with their right hand for a right turn and left hand for the left turn, and then stop down. Yeah. But yeah, the hand up would be the more traditional right hand turn.
Yes, sir. Just wanted to throw, and I think, it might be a good idea for us to have a couple signs out there too, just reminding everybody, so we can all kind of get back on the same page. Those are the rules. That's how we're supposed to communicate out there. And Dave, I want to say another good thing too is, make sure that people see you. Like you said, making that eye contact is make yourself big out there so that they see, hey, like, there's a human out here on a bike, like, make sure that they see you. And anyways, yeah, good conversation. Really appreciate the guest today.
Thank you for the call, Daniel. Thank you for the call. Something that Watsonville can be dangerous, and there's some places where, man, and don't do this. It seems like it's safer to ride on the sidewalks than it is to ride on the streets. People do it all the time. It's illegal. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you wonder, well, why can't I ride against traffic? I want to see the cars coming at me. Why can't I ride on the sidewalk? It seems so much safer. One day, I'm taking my grandma to the bank, and we just pull out. We get out of the A-team. We're pulling out of the parking lot, and I'm pulling onto the sidewalk so I can see around the cars that are parked on the street. So I have to pull out a little bit, onto the sidewalk, no doubt. And this guy riding a bike just bam, hit my car right where my grandmother was. Boom, got pasted right up against the car. And I was thinking, man, you idiot. Oh, my God. That's just, now I understand why.
Yeah, I'm laughing here in the studio just because I'm enjoying my conversation, but not because that's funny. Right. But, yeah, and also I can imagine for drivers, as, again, we are often cyclists and drivers, having bikes coming towards you on roads is kind of a terrifying experience from the driver's perspective, even if you're just driving, right? You're going to be panicked. And so, yeah, that's a pretty,
don't do it.
Yeah.
And also, when you're saying if you're traveling downhill and you're going the same direction with traffic, then, they're only going to be coming up to you. Put it this way, when you're headed at each other, you're coming at each other much faster than if you're headed the same direction. Mm-hmm. Much safer, especially if you're going downhill. Holy cow, ride with traffic. 479-1080-T in Monterey. Thank you for the call. You're in the air.
Yeah, hey, I think it's great. People get out on bikes. I personally like to get out and go runs. We've got the nice rec trail out here in Monterey, and, there's bikes and runners and pedestrians and stuff there. But what I really want to tell all you guys on bikes are you got to be able to slow down when it's appropriate, when you're getting into large groups of people. I know you got that momentum going and stuff like that, but I've been on the trail a couple times, and there was one time where if I hadn't made a quick step off to the right and almost hit some people, I would have been clipped by a bicyclist. So you guys got to keep that in mind in those kind of environments. The other thing I was going to say is I don't know if you talked about fixie bikes or not, but those have to be totally outlawed. I mean, that's insane. Not having any brakes on a bike. I don't care how when you feel with the bike or how much leg strength you have and all that. You have to have at least a handbrake on there. Maybe you don't use it while you're feeling one with the bike, but if you get at a point where you're going to plow into somebody or something like that. I mean, some guy got killed up in San Francisco a few years ago from some idiot on a fixie. So
I remember that, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so those got to be outlawed, and you guys need to I'm not saying you, but so many of these guys, you guys need to be nice. I mean, all this critical mass, we call them critical mass holes. I mean, you guys, I don't know why they have such an attitude and all that, because, we all have to try to live together and everything. And when they shut down all the traffic and stuff up in the big cities, that's just not nice.
Yeah. And I think,
thank you for the call, T.
I think, especially because that idea of critical mass, I don't want to say it's an entirely passé kind of event, but that is my other job is a high school history teacher. But if we were kind of plotting the timeline of bike, I guess, activism or trying to spread bike awareness, that was a period in time where some of those decisions were made for, love it or hate it, to kind of intentionally, it was a form of protest. And like many forms of protest, they are kind of intentionally meant to rub some people the wrong way to get that attention. And, in my understanding, and for sure in our community here in Santa Cruz, that idea of critical mass is not really relevant in our time.
We have just over 2 minutes, but can you give me a real short version? I don't know what critical mass is. I don't know what that means.
It was kind of alluded to by the caller.
Right.
Very, very large gatherings of
bicycles.
Bicycles where purposefully being like, we're taking the streets back.
Okay.
Which again,
they have the right to do.
Right? And also it's the sign is, you feel as a driver, you feel like the streets are only yours. Let me show you through my protest that the streets are ours. So that was the idea.
Mm-hmm.
It was a protest movement, but something that is not as far as I know, is not really here in our town. Is something that's relevant to what's happening in the bike community today.
So obviously, it's not a cool thing,
in my opinion. Yeah,
but seems to have brought attention, right? I mean, hey,
it really did. And if anyone's interested in the movement at this point, they've made documentaries about it and all sorts of stuff.
Critical mass is what the movement is called, or
yeah,
the philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're talking about the Ride of Silence, 20th anniversary, 405 locations, 44 states, 11 countries. Holy smokes, Greg, 5 continents. It's everywhere.
Yeah, and like I said, I noticed 5 or so years ago we didn't have one here in Santa Cruz, and it could get heavy really fast, when you think about what the event is about, but It is an important event.
Mm-hmm. So tell us again when we're going to be meeting, because we have just over
6:30 on Wednesday. That's the 18th. And again, also you could get to that Facebook link through the EcoAct Bike Month calendar. We're on there. We'll be meeting at the Clock Tower, doing a nice slow cruise through some of the most beautiful parts of Santa Cruz, and and just enjoy being kind of together.
And if you don't have a bicycle and you're thinking about buying one, boy, I tell you what, you couldn't pick a better place to live and ride through, because Santa Cruz is just unbelievably beautiful. You agree with that, right, Greg?
I can't think of I literally have tried, and I can't think of a better,
when my son
place.
When my son and I go riding bikes, I tell him, dude, how many people take vacations to come here to ride bikes? And I can't believe it, dude. We're so blessed. Greg, thank you for joining us. Hopefully we could do it again, because we haven't even touched the surface of bicycles, man. I could talk about this stuff forever. KSO Santa Cruz, enjoy your weekend. Keep it tuned in. KSO Santa Cruz.